Welcome back to Inquilab. It's been a month, but we're back.
A peace rally has turned deadly in the Turkish capital, Ankara, after 2 explosions killed 86 people.
There have been 2 explosions at Brussels airport and a blast on the metro in the city centre.
In Pakistan, over 69 people were killed and over 300 were injured in an explosion at a public park in the eastern Pakistani city of Lahore.
6 terrorist attacks took place in the last month alone. Amongst those are the ones that I've shown in the video: Ankara, the Brussels attacks, now recently attacks in my homeland of Punjab in Lahore. In this video I want to talk about 3 main points. One is the media and how I feel that the media is pushing an agenda and is almost a propaganda house, trying to push a message and trying to evoke some kind of sentiment and emotion and feeling in a person instead of providing unbiased news. There's no one better that can describe how I also felt than Jonathan Pye from the RT, so check out his video.
I'm there on my day off, sat in my pants, cup of coffee, trying to avoid anything to do with the news. Suddenly, breaking news, another extremist bastard has done something unimaginably evil, and you're like, shit, okay, what's happened? So suddenly I'm watching the news, not as a reporter, but as a viewer, and I'd forgotten how shitty and cynical the news can be. My point is, Tim, is that 31 people have just died. Why do we feel the need to make that any more horrific or any more newsworthy than it already clearly is? Newsnight, fucking Newsnight, ended their programme on Tuesday by, as the credits rolled, respectfully showing a montage of bloodied, injured people who were frightened whilst they played an audio of people screaming and shouting and crying. That, ladies and gentlemen, was the fucking news.
2. I want to talk about Islam and how I feel that a minority group has hijacked an entire religion in order not to push their religious values, but in order to reach a political ideology that they have in mind, and they're using religious sentiments to push that idea forward in order to gain ground and in order to gain political power. An awful lot of hypocrisy and politics involved in this. On one hand, we have the devil ISIS, who's vilified by the media, by the West, as seen as the most evil on earth at the moment. And anyone who has a similar sort of ideology as they are also are portrayed as evil. At the same time, we have Saudi Arabia, one of the greatest allies of the US and the United Kingdom, which makes no sense. And there is an Islamic scholar who has made a video on this, and he explains it really well on the hypocrisy that is taking place.
There is one country where there is no difference between it and ISIS, and that is Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is the root of ISIS. If Saudi Arabia tells you it has a problem with ISIS, what's the problem? You have a problem with executions, you execute. Beheadings, you behead. Anti-Shia, you're anti-Shia. Anti-Christian, you're anti-Christian. Plurality of opinion, you've got a problem when it comes to plurality of opinions. When Saudi Arabia gives you the rhetoric that it's against ISIS, it's the biggest load of nonsense politically in this world. Saudi Arabia has absolutely no problem with ISIS whatsoever. Saudi Arabia's only problem is that the call for caliphate within ISIS means there's a threat to their leadership. Otherwise, the vision of ISIS is the vision of Saudi.
Another thing that really irritates me is when the media says that there are no Muslim voices in the Muslim community speaking up against the ideology of ISIS, Saudi Arabia's political drive. Clearly, this person, this scholar, is a Muslim. He is a Muslim voice, but that's not acknowledged. I found him researching on YouTube. It's not openly available. You really have to look deep to find these voices. But these voices exist. They're just not put into our faces like how ISIS is put into our faces. Why did I have to do research to find him? He should be readily available. In order to understand why attacks have taken place in Europe, you really need to understand why ISIS is doing this. And I came across a video which I want to share with you guys, which explains it pretty well.
In the summer and fall of 2015, ISIS found its solution by launching mass terror attacks against civilians abroad. And this helped the group portray itself once again as on the march, but then Europe faced a big problem in how to deal with these attacks. Because the hard truth is that most of these attackers aren't foreigners, they're not refugees or migrants, they're actually European nationals. And you can't just close the border to keep them out if they're actually from Europe.
Now you would think this wouldn't happen in Europe, but it may happen in America.
Donald J. Trump is calling for a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States.
Oh, this guy. How can this guy potentially be the next president of the United States of America? Someone get me a gun so I can just... This is impossible.
They want to change your religion. I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think so. Not going to happen.
Donald Trump is deluded and he is just stupid. And he's playing with people's emotions and feelings in order to evoke some kind of emotion to drive his political agenda. He's doing the same thing that the media does. It's a propaganda machine. Now I want to share a speech by Malcolm X with you, who I've read about previously, but recently I've started watching more stuff about him, and that's why I had to put him onto my wall as a new addition. He's just an amazing person, amazing human being, and he also was a Muslim, and he followed Islam, and this speech is just amazing. I want you guys to watch it, just enjoy the speech.
When I was on the pilgrimage, I had close contact with Muslims whose skin would in America be classified as white, and with Muslims who themselves would be classified as white in America. But these particular Muslims didn't call themselves white. They looked upon themselves as human beings, as part of the human family, and therefore they looked upon all other segments of the human family as part of that same family. Now, they had a different look or a different air or a different attitude than that which is reflected in the attitude of the man in America who calls himself white. So I said that if Islam had done that for them, perhaps if the white man in America would study Islam, perhaps it could do the same thing for him.
You might think also, now they'll pick up on the last sentence that he said, that he would like the white person to note, read about Islam, study about Islam. They will misconstrue that and say, look, I told you, he's saying become a Muslim. No, he's saying study, because when he studied it and he experienced the oneness of humanity, he realized that all are one. And yes, most religions will preach that. All the religions that I know, and I've tried to read about religions, all preach the oneness of humanity. We're all one. Just to finish off, obviously these are hard topics. They go deep. The feelings and emotions of people are hit. They have socio-political effects. It's not just as simple as putting labels to it and saying this is bad, this is good, this is right, this is wrong. But one thing that I can definitely take away from this, that we need to put our forces together. We need to realize that there is one common good. Everyone wants peace. Everyone wants to have a decent life, be able to express themselves. I'm a big fan of Bhagat Singh, and I went to a talk recently and kind of re-emphasized the idea of why I believe Bhagat Singh was partly an atheist, to just show and lead by example that in order to have that common good for people, it's not about labels. We all can come together. So if it means that you have to say that you do not believe in any religion, you have no affiliation, it will allow people to come together and build that force to create something great for all of us. That's all we want at the end of the day. That's why I feel that on my wall I can put people from all sorts of religious backgrounds, because I feel that we all are in this together. We're all representing the same thing. And just because one section may have those freedoms doesn't mean that we should stop caring. Now, it doesn't mean because terrorism is taking place in Europe right as we speak, that tomorrow when we manage to fight this and there won't be no terrorism and it takes place somewhere else in the world, that we stop caring. Terrorism took place in the Middle East. We should care. even though it doesn't affect us. Now terrorism is taking place here. People, wherever it's not taking place, should be standing in solidarity with us and support us here to fight terrorism. So I want to finish off with another clip by Malcolm X. Check it out. I think you should really watch it because it just shows that we should never fight, we should never stop. Even if we are getting credit, we're getting the props that we deserve, someone else is not, and because of that we should always stand in solidarity with them, we should always fight with them, and we should always reach out and provide a helping hand. So on that note, I want to finish off on that speech. Inquilab. See you later.
No matter how much respect, no matter how much recognition whites show toward me, as far as I'm concerned, as long as that same respect and recognition is not shown toward every one of our people in this country, it doesn't exist for me.